This is going to be part 3 of the series of tutorials for completing the application which I call Solar or Solar System. And this is also the first one in stage 2. The first 2 videos were stage 1 and this one begins stage 2. So, of course, I have the scene that, we finished by stage 1, and I have the written guide for stage 2. And let's start reading from the setup. We just simply start from where we left off in Solar stage 1. What should we have? The sun and the planets are there, but they're not moving. And if you have a quest or access to one, you should be able to move amongst the solar system, because we got the OVR player controller, with your left joystick. But that's pretty much it. Now it's time to add all the things that would make the planets move, and also the control over the information that would show up next to each planet when we use our controller trigger. So, just like before, whatever we're going to do to the first planet or two, we're going to copy, paste, and and basically replicate that for all the other planets, with a few little changes for planets that are a little different. So we're going to start by selecting Mercury, and we can add to it as a child UI canvas. Here is Mercury. I'm going to double click, takes me to it. I'm also reminding you that what I like to do is view from either above or from the side. Let's view it from this side, but with flat perspective, not with the perspective, but with flat. It'll make it much easier to see the text too. And what we're asked to do is right click, and as a child, we're going to add to it UI canvas, and it adds a canvas. Then we're going to do a few important things to that canvas. We're going to change the name of the canvas to Canvas Merc or Canvas Mercury, and we're going to change it to World Space. We've done that before because, first of all, name. The reason we need to change it to World Space is because the default is Screen Space. Screen Space is like an overlay over the screen. That's for PCs and 2D screens. To become a 3D object in the world, we have to change the render mode to World Space, which also enables its position in the world. And once we did that, it says that you might see something called Upgrade to OVR Overlay Canvas, and it tells you not to. I experiment with that a lot. It's supposed to improve the visual clarity, but it brings up a bunch of other challenges. For instance, it refuses to be obscured or masked by any other objects. In other words, we will see the text of one planet showing through another planet. Not worth it. So we're not going to do that. I'm going to leave it just as a regular canvas. But once we do have a canvas, it says, if you see a button in the Canvas Inspector saying upgrade to OVR overlay canvas, don't click it. Then we're going to give it some parameters, which are really simple. All of these are really the defaults. We're going to do 0, 0, 0 and 5 by 5. So I'm going to reset where I got 0, 0, 0 instead of width 100 by 100, 5 by 5. Remember, the size of the planet itself is 1, so it's about 5 times bigger than the planet. Should be more than enough. Then, in the canvas, as a child, we're going to create a UI Text Mesh Pro. In the past, we discussed the differences between the two main kinds of text, the legacy one and the Text Mesh Pro. Each one of them has their own advantages. The main advantage of the legacy one is the ability to use any font you want right out of the box, and it's simpler. And the advantage of Text Mesh Pro is that it looks much clearer, sharper, and there's more options what to do with the text, like ornaments and outlines and effects and stuff like that. In this case, after experimenting, I decided to use Text Mesh Pro. So in the canvas, right click, UI, Text Mesh Pro. And it creates a text. If my gizmos are on, I already see the T. And then it says that one out of two things will happen. Either you will see this dialog, which asks you to import TMP Essentials, and after they do, it'll release this button to import TMP examples and extras. Once in a while, that does not show up, but we still need to import it. So if you don't see this dialog, you can go to Window, Text Mesh Pro, Import and then import. So in other words, it's just another way to get to the same thing. So in this case, the dialog did show up, so I'm importing. It'll take a second. And I already see text, and I will import the examples and extras, unless it doesn't let me import because they're already imported. Window, TextMesh Pro, import TMP examples and extras. Yeah, I will import them. Here we go. So one way or another, and I should have a folder called TextMesh Pro in my packages, I believe. It's either in my packages or in my assets. It's somewhere. Here it is, TextMesh Pro, with all the examples. The examples are mostly for the fonts that we need. So right now it's huge. We're going to, of course, change that, change those. So again, it says in step 6 that one of two things might happen. Either you will see a dialog to install TMP components, or you will go to Window, TextMesh Pro, and import, and then import the essentials, then import the examples. In any case, we're going to change the text name, not the text name, but the actual text to Mercury, and give it the following parameters, including transform and font and size. So I'm going to move this to the side so I'll have room to look at it. And we are going to copy all the settings. So this is the text. Position 000, width. Actually, it's not 0, it's 0.9. It's going to be a little above the planet. See how it goes a little up. Width, 2 meters. And height, 0.5. Now, at this point, the text might disappear because the letters are really big and they are not going to fit into this little rectangle. But I already see where it's supposed to be, especially if you don't see what I'm seeing right now. Make sure that you are rotating it on the X and that it looks, towards you, and that the that it's not in perspective. This is perspective, not perspective. It's much easier to edit. Then nothing changes here. TextMesh Pro, and instead of the words new text, I'm going to type Mercury. I did it in capital letters because it just thinks it looks nice. Then the font we're going to use is not going to be the TMP, the Liberation one, but the Oswald one. Again, it's fonts that come with those examples that we just imported. I just find that to be a much nicer font. Reminds me of a very old and useful font called Impact. The text style is normal. We just changed the font. We're not clicking any of the decorations here. We're definitely changing the font size to 0.3 so it fits in the text, and here it is. And as you can see, we're not checking auto size or any of those, color gradients or anything like that. All these numbers stay zeros, and as far as alignment, we're going to align it center and center horizontal and middle as far as vertical. So center and middle. Anything else? No, that's it. And at this point, you should see the text Mercury. I see it really, really small even in the game window, but I definitely see it when I focus on the text, on the planet itself. So at this point, I can return this to be regular size. If you feel like it at this point, you can definitely turn off the gizmos in your scene window, and you can see where the text is located compared to Mercury. The idea is that the text will appear above the planet when and only when the user squeezes either one of the triggers. So it's like a sign above it. We'll also add a script that'll make sure that the text is always oriented towards the camera, so we don't have to read backwards. We'll never be able to see it backwards. It'll always face us. And place it completely in front of us, and let's go back to the instructions. Right now it shows yellow because, I might have, like played around with the color. I'm going to leave it as white for right now. We can always change it later. In the scene view, turn X orientation if needed. It should look like this. If the text does not show, check all the parameters of the canvas and the TMP, the Text Mesh Pro, or once in a while you do everything right and it still doesn't show up. So what you do is you try to open another scene and then reopen the Solar Main and kind of like, wakes it up. In this case, it didn't happen, so if it ain't broken, I can't fix it. Then we're going to change the name of the canvas to Canvas Merc, and we already did, and the TMP name to name, because that's going to be the name of the planet. A sign that has the name of the planet. Then we're going to duplicate the TMP name and name it Info, and then very few changes. So name, edit menu, duplicate. Instead of name 1, we're going to call it Info. And what changes are we going to make? First of all, in its position, instead of 0.9, it's going to be negative 0.9. So instead of above the planet, it's below the planet. Then we're going to change the text size to 0.09, not 0.9, but 0.09, very, very small. And the reason we're going to make it very, very small, instead of 0.3, 0.09, the reason we're going to make it very small is because we're going to put a lot more of it there. And the text itself, which I can copy paste from the instructions, are these 4 lines with, why it's named like that, its diameter, its orbit, and it's the length of its day. So I'm copying the text. I'm going here, going to the text box. And this is what the information for Mercury should look like. Make sure there's no empty lines. One of the cool things about Text Mesh Pro is when I get closer, let me actually double click to make this the center. The closer you get, the smoother it looks. In other words, it's based on vector graphics. So when we fly towards it, instead of when we fly, bitmap graphics, the closer you get to them, the more pixelated they look. In vector graphics, the closer you get to them, the nicer and more sharp they look. So now there's 2 texts in the one canvas, one above, one below. Only if the text above and below look right, we're going to copy the canvas. We're going to go and paste it as a child. I'm going like, we worked so hard to create a canvas for Mercury. All I need is just to paste it into Venus and just change a few words, right? And that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to paste this child to Venus. And in later versions of Unity, the way to paste this child, it used to be just like under paste, but now it's paste special, paste as child, keep local transform. Important to keep local transform so the canvas is relating to its new parent, which is going to be Venus. So first of all, I'm going to take the Canvas Mercury, not one of its text, but the Canvas Mercury, and copy with, shortcut or right click or whatever. Then I'm going to go to Venus. I'm going to go to Edit, Paste Special, Keep Local Transform. Paste as child, keep local transform. And when I double click on this, it takes me to Venus, but it still says Mercury. So now we're going to fix that. We're going to change the name to Canvas Venus instead of Canvas Merc. It's very important that we name it correctly because later on these will play parts in our script. And of course, it'll also kind of confuse us. The name of the planet will change from Mercury to Venus. Just make sure that you're organized and you're actually changing the right one for the right one. Now, the name of the planet is correct. And the info, of course, instead of the old one that we have for this, So top TMP says Venus might have to adjust the Y. In this case, I didn't see a need to adjust the Y. And the text itself to these 4 lines. So the info for Venus is that it's named after the goddess of love, and and so on. So again, I will make sure that when I double click Venus and maybe even get closer, that the information is nicely above and below it. Now look at the next instructions. It's basically, I think you're guessing, that it's basically to keep repeating the same steps for all the planets, including the Earth's moon, including the fact that Saturn itself, we're going to add the canvas to the container and not to the sphere itself. So it's going to have a third child, which is going to be the canvas. Uranus and Neptune are regular planets. Jupiter and Mars are regular planets. The Earth will have its canvas, and the Moon will have its canvas. So in the continuation of the instructions, it tells you exactly what you'll need to do. You'll copy, for instance, the canvas from Venus, edit, copy. You will go to Earth and you will go edit, paste special, keep transform. Now the Earth has a canvas. I'm going to change its name to Canvas Earth. Going to double click on it, takes me to Earth, which of course right now still says Venus. And of course I'm going to change the text. The name of this is now Earth. And of course the text will change. Now, what follows, it says you might have to adjust the Y of both the TMPs to match the planet size, because planet sizes are really different. In most cases, it adjusts just great to the scale of the planet. But here is a table of exactly what you need to do for each one of them. These two we already did. This one we're in the process of doing. So I'm wondering, okay, so what text will the info of Earth have? I have it from here. And of course, I'm going to clean it up, and so on. You can see, for instance, that like the Y for the Earth looks a little too close to the Earth. So if I feel like it, I can move it up or down. This is, totally, to your liking. I'm going to stop this tutorial now because I'm going to let you do the rest of this table in your own time with all the canvases. Make sure that you add the canvas Saturn to, the Saturn container, and to canvas Uranus, and so on. And when we come back, this next part of the tutorial will be time for scripting. See you at the next part, which will be part 4.